Shasta, Butte, Trinity, Humboldt, Amador, El Dorado, everywhere. When it was all said and done, there was over 978,000 acres burnt in Northern California. Okay, so that hurt us with getting resources. Okay, but during the peak of this, by the time we were able to start getting resources, we ended up with over 2,000 people, 2,173 to be exact, assigned to the lightning complex in Mendocino. We had 190 engines, about 50 dozers, 15 helicopters, ended up with 71 water tenders, almost all local folks, plus we had folks from Riverside County, you name it. We ended up with 63 hand crews on this little deal, and they came from as far away as Alaska. So we ended up, as you can see, we burnt 54,000 acres in the unit. As I said before, any one of these fires, especially ones that got large, is a very labor-intensive, incredibly hard to control. So where we're at now, on July 22nd, the team turned the fires back over to the county, to the unit. Okay. We currently have today we have 8 engines assigned. We still have a northern operations area, southern operations area. We're now down into patrol status. We only have 1 engine up here in Covelo, 1 engine up here in this coastal stuff, and then we have 6 engines patrolling the Ore Springs series and the stuff down here in the South Coast. The problems we have and we're experiencing is the type of fuels that this is in. And our coastal range over here with the fuel buildup out there from the logging slash or in areas that haven't been logged in 50 years, the fuel buildup is incredible. And even on fires where we haven't had a smoke in a week or two, all of a sudden they kick out. So we're in a patrol status, we're maintaining these engines out there. We have 1 helicopter assigned and 1 fixed wing, and they're flying it daily. And they're picking up smokes and they're guiding people in. This morning I got a phone call from a lady up here in the Ore Springs fire, and she said she had smoke showing on the fire there west of Montgomery Woods. We sent some folks, everything's inside the line. But yet a week ago, there was another little tiny fire right outside the Ore Springs fire. Hadn't had a smoke on it in 2 or 3 weeks, and it actually slopped across the line, was outside the lines for about an acre or so. So that's what we're finding. We haven't had that in a week and a half or so. Things are looking really good for that. I did have some folks also ask me about the Ore Springs fire about Montgomery Woods. And I heard all the stuff, oh, Montgomery Woods burned up and big trees are gone. Not the case. I walked through there and it just did a nice backing fire. It naturally wood up 1,000 years ago and cleaned up the understory of Montgomery Woods. It did damage a couple trees, but it did a nice job in there actually. So dispelling that. Fortunately, we only lost 2 structures out of this. We lost a house up here in Iron Peak area, and we lost 1 outbuilding on this Folsom fire out here east of Willits, out by Hearst, old barn we lost. And that's the only 2 structures we actually lost on this entire 54,000 acres, which is fortunate. At the height of it, we had the Jack Smith fire down here, which was threatening Greenfield Ranch community. They actually had an ordered evacuation on that, which went really smooth. It was excellent working with our local cooperators. The Sheriff's Office did a fantastic job with their evacuation in those areas. It went really smooth. Running Springs Ranch Road was another big one for the evacuation area, and everything went really well in there. You've seen some smoke lately, probably, that keeps drifting in. Fortunately, today we've got some really nice air quality out there, which is a breath of fresh air, if you will. Yesterday, you saw the smokes. Yesterday, the day before, I can't remember. But anyway, the smoke came out. It's coming from these fires up here, the yellow fire up here in the Yellowbully Wilderness, and then further north in the Trinity, or the 6 Rivers National Forest, there's fires burning up there. And depending on how the air is flowing, I flew the other day and looked out, and stuff was coming across the North County down the coast, and then just went right on in through here and smoked out the Ukiah Valley and whatnot. Out of all the people, the 2,000 people we had on this, we also had the National Guard, by the way, about 200 of those folks, which was, I've never worked with them, but it was actually a pleasure working with them. They did a really good job for us. But out of all the folks, and spread out as this is, we only suffered 47 injuries on the fires. Unfortunately, Anderson Valley did have the local individual who died. So that was the dark spot in the whole thing, I think. But as far as injuries goes, when you go out and you look at this country that this stuff was in, it's steep, the fuels are nasty. We only suffered 47 injuries, all relatively minor, a few blown out knees and whatnot, but I think we were really fortunate there. In the aviation world, while this was going on, if anybody saw the newspaper, saw the helicopters flying or wondered where they were at, we put the helibase at Willits Airport, okay? For a couple reasons. Number one, it's an excellent facility to put it at. It's large. It's able to handle the amount of helicopters we were going to put up here. And Willits Airport, sitting up here, is about as centrally located in the county as you can get. So we were able to fly aircraft from Willits all the way to the south, all the way to the northeast, wherever we needed to put them, which aided us immensely. The other factor which affected us also with the aviation world was everybody that was here saw the smoke. And when it's less than a mile visibility, you can't fly aircraft in it. So we had to shut those folks down, and that impacted our ability also. But just logistically, so you know, we have an incident base set up in Cobolo, an incident base set up in Laytonville, an incident base set up in Boonville, and an incident base set up in Ukiah. Normally we run one incident base, and we had that many of them going. It was quite a logistical feat there. As an example, travel time for these folks up in Cobolo. From Cobolo to the furthest fires up here is almost a 3-hour drive if anybody's ever been up there. That's kind of travel times and logistical stuff that we're dealing with there. Can I answer any questions?
Chief, I've got 2 questions. What's the prognosis for the air quality impacts of our county from the other agency activities in Trinity? And there's also been a couple letters, the editor from a gentleman in Lakeville in regards to water scooping aircraft. Mm-hmm. Could you speak to those?
Yeah, we had a few of those issues as far as the water scooping aircraft. What we try to do with that is these helicopters go out and they'll use basically the closest water source that they can get into. And the Type 1 helicopters, which are the larger helicopters, might be 1,000, 1,500 gallons of water that they're scooping out of folks' pond. At a dry year like this, it raises concerns. It could possibly drop down some levels of their ponds. What we attempted to do was take that information down, go through our system, comp claims, and then we would go back and try to figure out how much water was taken out of the pond and bring it back with water tenders and try to replace it. Okay. As far as the air quality with the fires up north, they're starting to get a handle on this yellow fire up here, and it's going to all depend on what the flow does. There's still some, I was flying the other day and I could look way north in the 6 rivers, and there was still some pretty good smoke columns coming up there, so that could impact us.
Okay, to expand on the concerns of the citizen from Lakeville, he's talking about fixed-wing water scooping aircraft. Could you explain to the public some of the parameters those aircraft operate under?
Yes, okay. The fixed-wing water scooping aircraft, if anybody's seen them on the news and whatnot, they get their water from, obviously, they possibly could get out of the ocean if it was a calm enough day, but I doubt it out there as rough as our ocean is. But they would have to come over and get water out of something like Clear Lake, for example, that's large enough, has probably a couple miles of open water where they can get in and get out of. Their turnaround times